Hi everyone. The last time we spoke, well, we left off with number 20. We briefly touched upon it. And before we continue further into Samoan, we could look at something. We have more that can be understood about some of these numbers that are in front of man, that man will be encountering and is encountering. We talked about 17, and we talked about 18 as reconciliation, and how does that work? And we would like to take a closer look at how that works and how it can be perceived in the tablet of Samoan. And so if we look at number 17, which is light or dang, we'll notice that it has an upper foundation and it has a lower foundation. And where did these foundations come from? Well, actually the upper foundation came from number 14, which had to do with the All-Highest, recall. And what a person's belief in what the All-Highest was, the All-Highest that we can perceive, and what is the All-Highest, or the All-Highest that we believe in, what is that? And so that's our upper foundation on Dang. And the lower foundation on Dang, that came from number 11, which had to do with corporea, and it had to do with the lower foundation, essentially a replication of the ground or the foundation, the going forth. As it turns out, 17 is intimately connected with those. And the connection is this, in that 11, which is the lower foundation, the cosmos of 11 of Druk, meaning the fourth pulse of it, which integrates, is found in 14, belief. So that's 11, 12, 13, 14. 4 in the cosmos, recall up in the first row, the subjective row, that the cosmos represents the integration and the cosmos and the harmony and so forth. The upper foundation harmonizes the lower foundation, and it provides a higher foundation. And so we then look at 14 and wonder, well, what then is the integration of that? What integrates that? What harmonizes that? And so then we go 4 pulses of 14, 15, 16, 17, which is Dang. And so in Dang, we have the integration and the harmonization of the all-highest beliefs of man. Now recall that man is more than one individual. Man is a collective. But collectively, he's either in light or he's in darkness. But he does have some light. All social orders have light to some degree or other. So you have the upper foundation and the lower foundation in Dang. And what you have in between them is a space. Now this space between the upper foundation and the lower foundation, that is the realm between the two, the common ground, as it were, or the space within which a man can partake of both the lower foundation and the upper foundation. So in 17 then we have a lower foundation and an upper foundation. Now we're told in Oahspe that there are 3 things that determine where a person is going to go when they lose their physical body, when they die, in other words, and where's their spirit going to go. And those three things are a person's aspirations, their diet, and their behavior. And so if a person's diet, for example, has been eating animal substance, then that becomes a lower foundation. That's grade 1. That's right down at the base. And the person won't be able to transcend that much, or the person will always have to keep coming back to it for a season until he or she gains the strength to rise above the tugs and pulls of the animal creation, of the beast, essentially. That's on that grade level. The second thing is aspiration. Well, if a person aspires high, that ideally could become their high foundation. If they have high aspirations, and some people don't have high aspirations. They have aspirations that have to do with the beast, the self within, and making money at the expense, particularly of whomever. It doesn't matter, because they just want to get money, or they want to get this, or they want to get that. It's me, self, and that's also when it's all wholly for self. That's grade 1 as well. And so a person might not aspire to anything beyond self, but if they do aspire beyond self, then that becomes their higher foundation. Now, it could happen that a person has a good diet, in other words, a vegan diet, free of animal substance, and might not particularly aspire very high. And so his diet or her diet would allow them to have a higher foundation than what their aspiration is. So it could be sort of flipped on its head, but normally the diet is a limiting factor for the lower foundation. And so you have a regular just ordinary faithist with a vegan diet has a foundation from which he can rise above the influence of the animal. And the diet of someone who's in the discipline of learning prophecy has the prophetic diet, which doesn't have roots in it, for example, root foods like carrots or any of those root foods. It allows the prophet to rise into a more rarefied atmosphere for a foundation, for his lower foundation. But we have to remember, in all these cases, while we're here in corporea, while we're mortal, while we have this physical body, our lowest foundation is grade 1. It's here on the earth. So we're always here on earth, grade 1, but we can experience these higher foundations and live these higher foundations. And when we lose our physical body, then our spirit will float to those foundations. Well, the third thing has to do with behavior. And of those behaviors, one of the most important one is service to others versus service for self, and we're told about that in Oahspe. Essentially, what relationship this had, that what we just spoke about, has to 17 is that when a person dies, normally speaking, those three things, their diet, their behavior, and their aspirations, are not necessarily all together as one, but something might be higher than something else, and usually it's in the form of a triangle, and you have something at the lowest end, something at the highest end, and then somewhere in between. And what that means is essentially that in between is where the person lives in atmosphere, and when they work, they generally go down to this lower level to help uplift down there, and then they go back during their off shift time into the space in between, and then when they need refreshment, then they go up to their higher foundation and they get rejuvenated, refreshed, and they come back down ready for more work. And that essentially is what we see represented in Dang, in as much as you have the lower foundation where the lower work is done for upliftment, and you have the upper foundation, and you have that space in between where all the work is and everything. So that's a representation of reality, or an understanding of reality that we have from living, from life, that is represented in Samoin, in Dang 17.